Hello and welcome. Really excited to have everybody here for a discussion about spatial computing. Feels like there's a lot happening in the space at the moment, and we've been, working away at this space for a long time. But I've gathered people today just to talk to what are the actual opportunities right now in the market. And we have a great mix of people. We have people who have been founders, with people from platforms, we've got people who are investing in the space. So hopefully it'll be a fairly wide-ranging discussion. But let's jump straight in. I'm Dave Haynes from FOV Ventures. Maybe I could start with you, Bert, to introduce yourself, your role historically, and then what you're doing now.
Sure. So I'm Bertrand Nepveau. Currently, I'm general partner at Triptyq Capital, but I started a company called Varjo in 2005. Was an overnight success of 12 years where we went from my basement to having the best headset in the world. We won Best in Show CES, then sold it to Apple in late 2017, then worked on a Vision Pro. And then 2 years ago, we started Triptyq Capital with two partners, and we invest in the creative industries and fun tech. So now I have my investor out.
Nice, awesome. May, let's come to you next.
Great, thanks for having me today. May, I'm at Meta. My job is supporting the lifestyle content team to build experiences that help enhance people's interests and hobbies like West.
Awesome, brilliant. And then lastly, Urho.
Hey, thanks for having me here. Urho Konttori, previously the founder of Varjo, a professional grade mixed reality headsets company. Left roughly May last year and now founded a new company in the beginning of this year called Distance, which is glasses-free mixed reality company.
Awesome, good stuff. So yeah, it feels like a very old topic. It feels like when you were on panels in 2016 about virtual reality, it'd be like, what's the definition of virtual reality? I think what's interesting with Apple now pushing spatial computing, lots of companies, Meta pushing mixed reality and the metaverse. Like, I just want to get a kind of a read on the room of how do you think about this space? Is spatial computing the right word to be calling it? What does that encompass? Maybe you can start on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back, spatial computing was used by Magic Leap first, like probably around 2017, whatever. And it kind of makes sense. We see the web going like from a 2D space to 3D space. Some call it the metaverse, but it's all the same thing. It's about freeing yourself from a 2D space and maximizing, our brain has evolved as a 3D engine. So like we need to take advantage of that. So I think you have AR, VR, XR, spatial, whatever. It's mostly marketing, but it's all about making things more 3D.
Yeah, Urho, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody seems to have those nice words. I do believe that we are now on the part of the S-curve that a lot of actual use cases start becoming real, especially in the professional space, and you start seeing very nice scaling in that space. If we talk about terms, I do love the mixed reality term that I think Microsoft coined originally as a version of augmented reality that really like glues and is part of the real world itself. And I do believe it's the most suitable definition, that it's a layer that lets us interact in two realities at the same time. And yeah, love that.
Yeah, got it. And May, I guess from your side, there's a vision around the metaverse, but specifically working on the Quest side with mixed reality apps and lifestyle apps. How do you think about that, and how do you internally think about that?
Yeah, so for us, MR doesn't just refer to experiences that use pass-through. We use it to refer to anything from fully immersive experiences, partially immersive, 2D panels, 2.5D, portals, and everything in between. For us, really, it just means an experience that helps blend together places and content where people can connect, play, work out, engage with their interests and hobbies. So we sort of view it as a continuum all the way from immersive through pass-through and 2D and whatnot.
Yeah, got it. Urho, can you tell us a bit more about what Distance does specifically? That's your new company you're working on now, and how does that fit into mixed reality?
Absolutely, love to do that. So previously at Varjo, our customer base was really focused on companies either designing the future using the virtual reality, mixed reality tools to do that one, or training people how to operate in some future state. when we founded Distance, our core was that we really want to be focusing on actual field use cases. So focusing on how to bring mixed reality as part of automotive, like everyday journeys that we all have, how to bring it to the aerospace in a proper way, how to bring it to the defense industry. So going from this like a very clean and laboratory-like environment that Varjo was providing headsets for in training design use cases into the field and down and dirty and gritty and muddy environments, and what that journey looks like, how to make it so that you actually have as like a valuable content where you have as little changes to the world as possible, as opposed to as many, but so that they're like as valuable to the person as possible.
Yeah, got it. And I know we've seen some teaser videos of the technology at work, but maybe just explain the specific use case for automotive, say.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, from our past, we saw with my co-founders a lot of beautiful designs that automotive companies have been doing. In the case, it would be possible to turn the whole windshield into a portal to mixed reality. And you can find public versions of these from the likes of Audi and BMW, which are available for anybody to consume. But very similar visions were shown to us by a lot of car companies. And our solution allows you to turn the whole windshield into a portal to mixed reality, where each pixel can have a distinct depth, so that you can paint on top of the road in a way that your line that you draw in there absolutely sticks to the surface of the road. Or when you're driving by an advert, you can replace the advert, like the usual things you can do with the mixed reality, but now in a way that the glass in front of you is the portal to the mixed reality.
Got it. Makes sense. And so, Bert, maybe coming back to what you're seeing from an investor lens, I know you've made, quite a few investments with the fund now. Maybe just talk about a couple of the kind of the new ones that you've done, and where are the kind of areas that are exciting you at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's all about reducing friction for us. It's a new medium, it's a new language. So we need tools to be able to go from ideation and what you have in your head and easily maybe show it to your manager, whatever, to your boss, to start a project. So that's why we did an investment in Shape XR, which is kind of the Figma of XR. So we're super excited by this opportunity. And also there's, for people who saw now, the iPhone 16 is taking spatial video. You don't need a pro version. So you'll have millions of devices now being able to capture spatial videos. I was just back from Burning Man, and that was one of the reasons why I changed my iPhone 12 to the 15 Pro, was like, I want to be able to share that experience with my friends. So I took a lot of spatial video at Burning Man, and I haven't watched them yet, but I know, like, especially when you're there and you relive them, it's like being in a dream. Like, it's super great. So one other investment we did is Cubic Space, and we make sure that once you have captured that 3D experience, it's optimized for playback and comfort on any device that supports 3D. So it can be a 3D display, but it can also be a Meta Quest, it can be a Vision Pro, and you can also zoom. So one thing that is very difficult on the perspective side, if you start zooming in pictures and things like that, if you don't do the math correctly, the experience is really bad. So that's another investment we did in that space. And finally, there's Gracia AI, and what they do is they do like real-time Gaussian splats. So you can really capture a scene and like in real time be able to relive the scene and zoom and everything. It's crazy. So for live sports, we're super excited about this opportunity. Like, let's say you're at a UFC match, then you can capture the scene and in real time being able to replay from any angle and everything. So it's going to be a very exciting future.
Yeah, nice. And I think it's interesting when you speak to most investors and you talk about VR, if they haven't spent a lot of time in the space, I guess their mind goes mostly to gaming, right? Because that's where we've seen, especially on the consumer side, we've really seen gaming drive headset adoptions, certainly amongst younger demographics. But I guess, like, coming to you, May, outside of gaming, what are the use cases that now aren't just living on the fringes, but you're seeing actually become more engaging or retentive experiences? And if you were going to point investors or entrepreneurs to spaces that you see user behavior saying, yes, this is a thing, what are some of those areas?
Sure. So over the past 5 years, we've started to see new categories of experiences that we call gaming adjacent start to emerge on the platform. The first big one that really popped for us was fitness and wellness. You know, apps like FitXR and Trip, Les Mills, and now even Headspace are doing quite well. There's clearly a market for it. When we launched the Quest 3, we started seeing some new categories emerge as well, especially categories that help people pursue their existing interests and hobbies. Piano Vision is a great example of one that teaches people how to play piano, you know, Paradiddle for drumming, and Pencil most recently as well for drawing. We're also just starting to see a lot of founders prototype and just hack away at, you know, completely new use cases at hackathons. I think in one of our last ones, Flavor came up as winner that blended AI and mixed reality for cooking. So I think with Quest 3, you know, we're starting to see a lot more potential with innovation and new categories like that. And we're really excited about helping them build out these new experiences through programs like our new Lifestyle App Accelerator.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more for any founders that might be watching. The application is still open for the accelerator, and what sort of things are you kind of proactively looking for where you're actually think maybe not enough people are building in those spaces?
Yeah, so application is still open through mid-October. We're excited to see founders build products that are live service and retentive. So not so much one-off experiences or small projects, but really like products that people can build habits around on Quest. Some categories that we think have some potential include things like home design, fashion, you know, dating, shopping, food, arts and crafts, essentially categories where 2D is insufficient in a lot of use cases and where we think adding a 3D experience can really help solve some unique problems. But really, you know, we're also excited to see what ideas founders come up with. The reason we wanted to launch the accelerator is because we don't have all the answers. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anyone at Meta could have predicted, like, Gorilla Tag, for example, would have been such a big experience. And so we're really excited to see what founders come up with and innovate in the, you know, lifestyle category with us.
Yeah, nice. So I guess we talked a little bit about gaming, some of the gaming adjacent stuff. Urho, with the previous hat on as somebody who was at Varjo, which had more of an enterprise focus, where were you seeing the use cases emerge there? And again, from an investor perspective, what are the areas that you think are ripe to be investing in because they're maybe coming a little bit more out of the innovation phase and more into a deployment phase?
I think, yeah. So the most interesting advancement tend to be happening in the training domain. Usually you see very good return on investment by the companies of switching from the old ways to the new ways. And then after some pilot trials, then to start scaling. So I see that from like Varjo perspective as the like a major dominant domain. And Varjo's first customer bases that really made sense were in the aviation training side, where the equation was so that with this investment of headset plus compute plus some little bit of motion platform equaling maybe 200,000, maybe 100,000, you would be replacing systems that typically cost from 5 million to 20 million. So that equation is kind of like a relatively easy. And so those were the foundational pieces for Varjo's customer base. But then you start seeing so much like a police training, fireman training, all sort of things where you would typically need to operate in the real world, but enabling those to be done better and cheaper and in ways that maybe even couldn't be done before. So as an early entrepreneur, if you can like figure out that equation where your solution is actually significantly cheaper than the old ways, that will be relatively easy funding, easy sales pitch as well.
Yeah. And but you've been on both sides of the table now, right? You've gone out and raised for your previous company. Now you're investing into entrepreneurs. Seems to me that maybe the investor sentiment at the beginning of this year turned more positive after some misstarts, especially with new headsets coming to market. The Vision Pro, I think, captured people's imaginations at launch, but now part of the way through 2024, are you seeing it as a kind of a hot sector, a cool sector? When you speak to other investors, what are you seeing?
It depends who do you talk to. Like more generous fund, they wait for the inflection point, and I think we're almost there. We need cheaper devices, so like I think the Quest 3S will help with that. The Vision Pro is still very expensive, but the rumors are they're working on a cheaper version. And what excites me is that now we're going from great VR experience to really good MR experience, where the pass-through of the Quest has improved a lot lately. When I wear my Quest now, by default is in MR mode instead of VR mode, so you can see your space and everything. So it makes things more accessible too. When I was at Vervanda, we always started our demos in MR because if you're a gamer, whatever, you can go in VR and you're not too intimidated by it. But let's say you never use a headset in your life, like people didn't want to wear it. So that's what I like. I feel like the bar for hardware is there. It's not a hardware problem now. It's more reducing the friction, making it accessible, and not just gaming. Gaming is great, but for it to become mainstream, you also need like sports or entertainment. It's not just like super physical and things like that, but you can just use it, or even at work for productivity, where you can wear it like 3-4 hours a day. And that's, I think, when it's going to become like a big mainstream thing.
Yeah, makes sense. I want to come to Mei in a minute about the mixed reality stuff specifically, but Urho, just to stick on the investment theme, you've raised for a company previously. You were recently out raising for Distance. What's your reading when you talk to investors? Were they excited? Was there a renewed interest in this kind of new frontier of computing?
Yeah, I think there was, and our pitch was revolving quite a bit on breaking an old way, again, with some novel technology, very solid financials, again, as a basis. So for investors, you need to be able to tell that there is an actual market that we can tackle. And that was relatively easy part of it. Then I do believe that a lot of people have been also waiting for mixed reality to come to, so that it's more approachable form factor. I think part of our a love for our pitch was that you actually don't need to change anything. You don't need to wear anything, but you get the benefits of mixed reality.
Yeah. And Bert, I heard you talking on another, I think it was the Voices of VR podcast, and just talking about what actually went into achieving the pass through. Reviewers put the device on their head and it's like, oh yeah, well, it's okay. And actually, when you know what the engineering that's actually got us there and how different that is from 2016, it's quite impressive. And it feels like now we also have devices like the Quest 3, which is a much cheaper device, and you still have those same pass-through environments, which unlock these new use cases. So yeah, I'd love to hear from either you, Bert, or Mei. What are you seeing now that we have this very high quality pass-through and proper mixed reality? What are you seeing as the big use cases there? It feels like there's still a lot of experimentation, but have any companies or experiences shone through to you yet?
We're seeing a lot of really practical use cases on the fitness side. Just in terms of people want to work out in the headset, but they want to make sure that they can see their environment, so they're not picking their dog or maybe hitting their hand on a wall. So for very practical use cases, it's been really beneficial. We're also just starting to see it being useful to help people learn their interests and hobbies better. I talked a little bit about piano vision earlier. In the art space, we're seeing a lot of benefits as well. I think there are some additional applications that we haven't seen too much innovation yet, but I think it might be coming. And with Gen AI sort of reducing the cost of content creation, I think this might be the right opportunity to go after it. Fashion is one area where we know there's a lot of pain points. People complain about not being able to shop well because they don't know if something fits on their body well, and they're spending a lot of time and money returning items and shopping online. Same thing with home design. Buying a piece of furniture is really expensive, and returning a piece of furniture is really hard. And if you can make that process a lot easier by just visualizing it first in your real space, that reduces a lot of pain points for people. So I think with AI and now with MR being so good, there's an opportunity for us to serve some of these new use cases as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Bert?
Yeah, it's funny because competition is good, and look, when we released the Vision Pro, we saw that the Quest 3 improved quickly because they were able to compare and things like that. And I'm sure it's going to be the same thing. Meta will come up with new features that will make it better, and then Apple will improve on it. So Meta has been at it for a while, so they kind of had 80% of the market. But now with Apple pushing the bar on the quality side, I think it's an interesting era where, like, for me, the Quest 3 is more like a console, where like Apple is more as a computer. So I think that's where like they push the spatial computing term as like Meta is the metaverse. It's all your favorite things you like to do, but in XR. So I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely. I think the challenge there, as we think about it from an investment perspective, is you just need consumers to have a device and to be picking them up and using them regularly. I think that's the challenge. It's like, what are those use cases, like whether it's entertainment or spatial videos or gaming, that just means that enough people have a device on their table next to them or on their coffee table that you can really start to roll those things out. I just want to change tact a little bit, though. Most investors have spent the last 2 or 3 years, chasing generative AI. There's a huge amount of hype around that. Feels to me like some of the stuff that's happening there with the new vision models, with LLMs, with these multimodal models being able to understand things around us and put that into environments, or even just Gen AI being able to help with the creation of 3D environments and worlds in the first place. Are you seeing that as an inflection point? But maybe you can kick us off with some thoughts from a VC perspective.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I think it's all about reducing friction. So I think that Gen AI will reduce friction in a sense that, you'll go from ideation to a good prototype very easily. One investment we did is Masterpiece Studio, and you start text to 3D, and then you create your 2D asset, and then you can animate it in VR and change things. So it's an iterative process. And there's other great tools, Blockade Labs with Skybox, and then Scenario GG for 2D assets. And I think like even the NPCs, you see a lot of great AI happening in NPC, like Onward and things like that. So I really think a studio of maybe like 30 people do a AAA game at really reduced budget because of AI. It's a great enabler. It's still early days. I don't think we're there yet, like for AAA quality. But with Moore's law, things are improving so fast that it will happen.
Yeah, we have, well, that's a good plug for one of our portfolio companies, Scenario. Doing a great job with the Gen AI creation. We also have a company in the portfolio called Iconic, which is, doing just that, but they're looking to make AAA games, have people from AAA background, but saying, hey, look, if we build the studio from the ground up, leaning into the affordances of Gen AI, then actually we can achieve a lot with, either faster or quicker or less people. Maymay, how are you seeing Gen AI actually manifest itself in apps? Maybe that's through, assistants who are helping you on board, or maybe it's some more like creativity apps. Love to just hear some actual real world examples that are using Gen AI in their apps.
Yeah, for sure. I'd echo Bert's comment on like content creation or asset creation. We're starting to see some developers use it to expedite the creation of their apps and generate content in it. So for example, maybe an art app could use it to, on the fly, spin up a sketch of something that you might want to draw that you can then use. Conversational AI is also another big one that we're seeing a lot of developers experiment with, that users are interested in, to help them with any tasks that they want. When we talk to users about conversational AI, though, they're very clear that they don't want it to be telling them exactly like what to do, but they want to use it as an aid to help them in something that they already know and want. So trying to figure out like what that balance is and how to like smartly and natively implement it so it doesn't feel stilted is a challenge. And then the last one is around like object recognition. I think you mentioned this earlier, but using AI to analyze your surroundings and be able to tell you maybe what it's seeing, recommend things based on your goals. That's the sort of emerging space for us as well. But I think there's a lot of potential for lifestyle apps specifically.
Yeah, makes sense. Urho, any thoughts on the AI topic?
I mean, I'm so excited of AI in the mixed reality context, which is probably like the most natural way for you to interact and the most expressive medium for AI to be influencing your world and participating on that one. So the like possibilities, like you often say, but very seldom mean, are like literally endless in that side. I'm looking at some of the pro level things as well, such as AI co-pilots in the literal sense for planes and similar things in the defense industry overall, like how you can be enhanced to be better by fusing AI and then mixed reality visions, how that is the most natural way for AI to like showcase things for you in the most natural way by changing the world that you're experiencing. And I think those kind of things, they will fundamentally change the way we experience the world. And so anyway, I think AI is the match made in heaven for mixed reality.
Yeah, makes sense. So I just want to kind of end with a look towards the future. But from your perspective, you're making investments today. You're probably thinking about what the market looks like about in 18, 24 months, and maybe have some insights on some unlocks that are going to happen during that time.
Yeah, looking forward for MetaConnect, like they probably announced the Quest 3S. Probably Apple will release a cheaper version next year. And, people sometimes don't realize that, but they sold as many Quests as the latest Xbox. So that's quite an achievement. So I think the user base is there. It's the retention. We need more retention. And I think we're getting there. I think there's great games. Sports, I think they showed that when you train in VR, you stay 30% more than if you would do in real life. Retention for learning is much, much better. So I'm a big believer in education and training. And I haven't seen yet like a really killer app in education. So I think there's a big potential there. So yeah, it's more about people trying it. So I see a lot of people, they come to me, they say, oh, I went to the Apple store, I tried the demo, it's amazing. It's still too expensive for me. But I think like in the mind of people now, they say, okay, it's not Star Trek thing anymore, it's accessible. And it's all about price point now. And we will see that next year, like lower price point and more diverse experience. So I'm very bullish on that space.
Good stuff. Well, we'll wrap it there. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to Bert. Like, where can founders find you if they want to pitch Triptyq? How should they get in touch?
Yeah, easiest way, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I respond to all my messages, or go on a website, triptyq.vc, and submit your project.
Yeah, awesome. May, if there's entrepreneurs out there wanting to either apply to the Lifestyle Accelerator or just get in touch with somebody to introduce you to their application, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, we have an application form and we have an email address associated with the program on that website, lifestyleappaccelerator@meta.com. Otherwise, I'm open to direct messages on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, awesome. And Urho, I feel like people are intrigued about what you're building. Where can people go and see what you're actually building and more about Distance?
Yeah, well, you can see some vague representations at distance.tech and probably some more current ones in Instagram if you look for distance.tech. in there.
Cool, awesome. And yeah, for myself, you can just find me on LinkedIn or go to fov.ventures. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks again to the panelists, and hopefully we'll do this again very soon.
Thanks.
Thank
Peace
you.
out.